Right, we are in the citadel, and it's very important to mention a citadel. The word citadel is metsuda, like metzada. And just to let you know that even in Jerusalem you had metsuda, and more likely Jesus was tried in Metsuda and not in the Antonia fortress. The Metsuda is the fortress, and if you look at the very corner right there, you're looking here. See it? Mm-hmm. You see, and the way the stones are made just to hold it real tight together. When you look at this area right here, this was the high place. This was part of an altar, and that's why you see the matzeva right here. We see all kind of god and goddess, and I think we will go to Hazor Museum because you learn something about the Ten Commandments there, which I think is very important. There are two, in those days, and we're talking about the 60s, two major archaeologists. Yigal Yadin was also the chief of staff. Yigal Yadin is the son of Professor Sukenik, who read the first, and was the first to read the book of Isaiah from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Because he had a position in Israel as a chief of staff, he had to choose a Jewish name, and he chose the name Yadin. Dan is judge, the judge. So that's why he took it. He tried to get into politics, and it didn't go well. What we see right here, and you always see the period we're talking about, and you try to compare the period with the kind of material that was used. This is from the time of Judges, all right? And we're talking about Judges. We said Judges are not exactly Judges, but it's between the time Joshua to the kings. And this is the time, if you think about it right here, is where we had the Canaanite city, and then there's nothing here. They think there's nothing here during the time that the city was burned to the ground by Joshua. And here is the Israelite citadel, Metsuda, right here. This is the high place. Look at the way it's done. We find something identical to this because this is from the Canaanite period. You see it's low in a place called Arad. Arad is close to Beersheba. Very similar to a very, very interesting Canaanite tell. Anyone who has this place has the control on the Via Maris. Anyone who has this place has the road to the west here. Sea of Galilee is here, and it leads on to Damascus. From here, the next place will be Dan. You're now at the largest Canaanite city. Something similar to that was found in the area of Arad. Arad is east of Beersheba. And you can say that during the Canaanites' time, it was mainly from Dan, Hazor to Arad, because Arad was a large, huge Jewish city. It controlled also what was called the spice route, and that's why it was so important to be there. Right here was the headquarters of Jabin, and Jabin had his palace here, and he had his archive. Yigal Yadin was working in the Tel, goes all the way around. You're only in the inner part. All the hills around you. All this is part of the Tel. During excavation at that part, Yigal Yadin he said, I'm finding the archive of the Canaanite. And he died. So his work was not completed. They went back to excavate here only the last 3 years. If you really want to know what's happening in this place, what happened when you do excavation, you have the right to publish. And what you do is you keep the things for yourself, you don't let it out, and otherwise it's a lot of investment to do excavation. So you get it, in those days it was for 50 years, now less, time to process, because to excavate takes 3 weeks, 1 month, to process years, because you have to do all the work. And what happened with all those professors, they kept things to themselves and they did not open it. And many of them passed away, and a lot of information is gone, like in Albright and in other places like the Dead Sea Scrolls and so on. So that's why it's very important to put things in open. So you know what I do if I want to find out things? I talk to the guards. They're my best friends because they know what happens. and they tell you exactly what happened here. So they're doing some excavation recently, and I'll show you what they found in this site. Kal. A kal means round. Basket, and you put the stone, put weights, and I hope you don't take this one. Right? Here, you press, and you got the oil right here. I will try to take you to Kiryat Shmona. Some of you know about them because they have a school there which is called Ibex. And they have a replica of all of this, and I'll do some teaching there. Here, you see the difference between a storeroom and a stable. What's the difference between a storeroom and a stable? And you rest in peace, Aroni, Diane, excuse me. What you have right here is storeroom. You cannot imagine the argument between these two guys with the store. They had both. It's just that the city of Chariot was more the city of Megiddo, and it was called so. It doesn't mean they didn't have chariots here too. They did, because we know Sisera came on chariots from here, but not from this period, from the period underneath, which is from the Canaanite, Israelite Canaanite, right here. You saw this.
And then just build right on top of it.
So they
How do
come
they
in
build
on top
right
of
on
it.
top of it?
They use it to some degree.
Put more layers.
Yeah, rebuild it, basically.
Before I go into this, what did we say about the gate when we talk about Solomon Gate? What would you find? Two towers. First of all, the steps. Remember we went up to Megiddo, the steps would go there. Frank just showed it to you. But what we didn't see, because they took it off, because the excavation there, this was done by Yigal Yadin in 1960. The other excavation were done by the German, and as you said, they stripped it off to the ground. But right here, what did we say? Two towers and 3 rooms in each side. That's identical by an inch to what we saw there. It just was destroyed. Here, tower, tower. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Casement, wall, right? And how the stones, if you read in any book, headers and stretchers. Headers and stretchers. That's what holds the building. Iron Age, I can cut the stones. You don't believe me? Look at the chisel work right here. Okay? 3,000 years old. Welcome to King Solomon Gate. And those people that say that Solomon and David were just the little Bedouin tribes, show me any Bedouin tribe that can do this. Show me any Bedouin tribe that somebody in Assyria would bother to write on a pottery house of David. Why would they care if it's just a Bedouin tribe?